All right, so this week is the animation, like I was saying. So the first thing I wanted to note, so there was something I noticed on the rig. When we were doing the rig, I did mention the issue of gimbals. And that can clearly be seen on this foot here, right? So this foot is gimbal locking, and which is yeah, and I always find that a little bit weird because it's fine on the other leg, but the reasoning is probably because the axis, the x-axis is pointing up as opposed to this one that's pointing down the joint chain. So it hits a gimbal at different points. I'm sure this would still hit a gimbal at a certain position. Hey Toast, welcome in. But in order to fix that, all we have to do is change our rotation order. Now, there's going to be a gimbal lock no matter what. You're going to find a gimbal lock somewhere on a certain pose, but you have to find like which is the best solution, right? So because the x-axis is the axis I'm using in this case to drive the rotation of the leg. Another note is during the tutorial we did use the y-axis to drive this. In this case, I ended up using the x, but it doesn't matter. You can use whichever you feel is better. But like I used y because the y is the one that's going to be rotating more than the x. The y I still think would probably have been better, but the x I don't know why I did x. I think it's just because like I'm used to that, and I felt like there would be less problems if I just did it with the x-axis. But I still hit gimbal. So the issue I would or the solution is to pick a different rotate order for the IK joint that's driving everything, right? Or the IK joint chain that we did before. Remember, we rigged the IK joint chain, and then we just connected it to the base leg that gets skinned. So all I do is I make sure that X is at the end, because X is the one that's driving the rotation. So I'm going to go with the ZYX. There we go. Like so, and it should be better. See? Look at that. So now there's less gimbal because I have changed that rotate order. Again, you'll hit it somewhere else, but it's like you're not going to hit it in as easily. Right? Great. So that was the only thing I wanted to bring up on the rig before we get started. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that I save this file. And oh, I also want to clean everything up because I've shown all the joints and stuff. So let's go into the joints. Make sure the drive chain is hidden because we're, well, in my case, I showed it so that I could change the rotate order on that joint. We're going to hide the skeleton again. Remember, we set up these layers. Very handy stuff. The controls, okay, I did make a mistake on the controls. The controls aren't hiding the extras. I'm going to just add that to the controls. So right click, add selected to layers. Oops. Add selected object. Okay, there. Okay, great. So now that those disappear as well. Wonderful. Oh, and this guy too probably would be a good idea. Add selected objects. Perfect. Oh, it changed my color. Don't like that. Oh hell. Well, fine. Hold on. Right click. Remove selected objects. Gosh darn it. Okay. Sorry about that. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. It's the little things that bug the hell out of you, you know? Just going to change that back to green. Okay. I'm just going to group this. Here. Maybe if I do this, it won't change the color. Great. Ah! Alright. We win. Cool. So the next thing that I want to do... Hey Fuller, welcome in. Cam, hey. Doing art, that's right. Toast your forward. I say dumb stuff, that's cool. Hey Becca, re-rigging? No, we're animating. I was just showing what I did a quick pose test before stream just to make sure the rig was working okay. We'll probably still encounter some issues, that's always how it works. But I want to make sure that I showed a little quick fix about gimbal lock. All right, so great. We saved this now. So now what I like to do is I like to save a duplicate this is something that anyone can do. Let me hide my screen real quick, just make sure that I don't end up in a work folder by accident. Okay, good. We're good. Display capture. Okay, so you'll see like I have these two extra files here. I like to create a second file that has all the just as a backup. I like to have, these are kind of like my published files, and these are my working files, right? So my published ones, I always say like character name, version, whatever, and then I put the little file association. You can do whatever you like, but I like to create this little file just because it's cleaner and easier to find what I'm looking for. I created this file a little while ago. You can see it's already associated to Workshop 19, which is what I'm in. So I'm just going to call it the same thing, but I'll just save and overwrite this. Yeah. So what I want to do here is, now that I have this set up, I want to like make sure that everything is in the default animation position. So I have the jaw. I'm going to close it. It was open because it was in the position that it was rigged in, because your mouth is open for modeling. What else was there? And then I also want to make sure that the mesh is locked, so that we don't accidentally select it while we're working. Make sure that all access controls are hidden, just so that it's not overwhelming whenever you open the file. And everything else should be good. So we're going to just save this now. Shiny Panther, hey, pop in to say hello. And then eating out because I need to write some stuff. Fair. And best of luck with that writing. I say things without even realizing it. I do that too. It's a curse. Okay, so we're going to start with the idle pose, because idle poses are fun, right? So we're going to do new scene. Now, this is very, very important. When doing animation, we're going to open our reference editor. Do not animate in the original file that you rigged. Reference it in. Referencing is good. Because if we update the rig, we can update the reference and all our animations will be preserved. It's very, very handy, and I highly, highly recommend that you use the reference editor when animating. This isn't just my specific either. I know that Blender has something similar, although I don't know how to access it. But it is there, and it is worth looking at if you're using something other than Maya. Okay, so we're going to reference that. And we're going to reference that file we just created. Oop. And we go. Excellent. And then we're going to save this, because I like to save right when I start. And we're going to call this anim the idle. Right. And again, today we're going to be getting into doing both the idle and walk animations. And next week we'll be working on animation. I'm thinking today as well we're going to cover the putting stuff up for like getting stuff ready for your portfolio, so rendering and whatnot. But we'll see where we get, and if I do that, it will be a separate video regardless. I'll probably just break it up. Anyway, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to hit 6 so that I can see the character, and we're going to start doing a little bit of an idle pose. Now, idle poses are a lot of fun. They're my favorite. Because you can get a lot of character out of them. You can get a lot of character out of a walk too, but walks are limited by the mechanics, so basically they have to work in a particular way, especially if like a character has to move at a certain pace or something, right? Or something like that. Whereas in idle, you have complete free reign. You can do whatever you like. Now, when creating your idle, there's a couple things to consider. First, why, or like what is the purpose of your character? What is your target? What is your goal? And who is the character? Is the second thing. So the first thing is, okay, is this going to be like a kind of like stylized, over the top? Is that kind of like the mood that you want your game to be, or are you trying to do something more realistic where it's you know, you're gonna have so like a more simplistic pose, right? Because you don't have someone who's just like in a fighting stance all the time when it's when you're just kind of like walking around day to day or something. Like if you look at something like what's a good example? Let's say Uncharted. Drake doesn't have this kind of like crazy pose. He has a kind of like his arms are at his side and he's just kind of like there, with a nice little breathe cycle and whatnot. If you're doing something more stylized, like a fighting game or something, you can go really crazy and you have these really, really sharp poses, right? But like something like that would feel weird in a more realistic game. Do you have these stream sessions up anywhere? Yes, here you go. But yeah, so we're gonna do something a little bit more stylistic. So when I'm creating a more like a more dynamic pose, I like to find reference, obviously. I like to look at a lot of fighting games for idle poses. They always do some really, really cool stuff. And that's usually the road that I take. No worries, Fully. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just start pushing things around, right? So don't worry too much. We'll just kind of figure some stuff out. I like to like lower the body a little bit, just so that because once I start spreading the legs apart a little bit, you're going to get the legs you're going to start getting some floating really quickly. I want to do again like more of a fighting stance. I have some reference on the other screen that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be keeping that to myself because I don't want to be like showing other people's work or any of my references on screen. But you can find your own, right? You can just go on wherever you like and just find what inspires you and what you think will work, right? But again, like I like to look at characters from other games. Obviously, you don't want to copy anything one-to-one, but you can look at different characters that kind of have a similar mood to get some ideas flowing. That's always very, very helpful. Let me see. So again, I want the character to be like very, very proud and confident, right? So in order to do that, I need to get into a what's it called, like a kind of wider pose, more open, right? Another thing too to remember, we have all these controls set up. So we have our controller that only affects the hip, very handy, and you can see I just want to like bring up some stuff like that. I probably won't be mentioning it enough, but be aware of like which controls I'm using. I think that's important because you can kind of get an idea of how best to approach creating a pose, right? Because like you don't want to be trying to like pose with the main control and then counter animating with the top, right? That becomes a huge pain. Yeah. Hey Gruntled, going all right. It's going all right. We're just doing some animation, getting some stuff done. Did I set up the local world space on this arm? Yes. Oof. A little worried for a second. I was like, wait a minute, did I not do that? We'll be using this when we're doing the walk cycle, but we don't necessarily need it quite right now. I do want to show the sword as well. I'm going to show that. I never ended up bringing the sword. That's not really important. But what I would end up doing is I would probably put a joint chain on the sword here, and then use dynamics. Because unless you want to have the sword part of your rig, which you could do too, and then animate that, but I don't think I will. For the sake of what we're doing here, I'm just gonna keep that kind of like a stiff line. That's okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna just make sure that the hand is gripping the sword. Looking super cool, thanks. Did you guys already finish your game jam? No, game jam isn't completely done yet, but the art is done. So my portion is done, and I'll probably be jumping back onto the game jam after the workshop. But I need to get this. You gotta keep up with your responsibilities, right? So we're gonna get this workshop done. We're getting pretty close to the completion now. We only have We'll probably only have one stream left after this one, which will be Unity. Excited to see it come together, and for sure this character looks awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I want to have a more wide pose. I'm going to have her kind of like holding the sword backwards. Like so. Ready to hit you with it. And I want to have kind of like almost like she's taunting you, right? So she's gonna have her hand kind of like up like this, and have her hand kind of just like egging on someone who's in front of her or something like that. Again, you can do whatever you like. You know, don't. I think the important thing is not to feel too rigid about it, and don't worry so much about it looking dumb, right? I think I've seen a lot of the times where people will be hesitant and they don't want. Oh no! Oops! I didn't hook this up. Oh no! I didn't hook up the freaking pole vector. Okay, hold on. Let me fix that. I will save this and we will open that real quick. Oops. Oops. It's okay. It's an easy fix. It's an easy fix. Okay. Constrain pole vector. There we go. Pretend you didn't see that. Yeah. Pretend you didn't see that. Wouldn't the finger be on the inside? What do you mean? Oh, you mean like wouldn't the hand be down? Not for the pose I'm going for. It could be though. When she's holding the sword. What do you mean on the inside? Oh, you mean like... no. Thumb? Thumb's there. Inside of the fingers. No, the thumb would not be inside the fingers. Another thing I could have done as well is set up a world and local space for the head and neck, which I didn't do, which is going to be a little bit of a pain. We're going to have to do a little bit of counter animating, but it's not the end of the world. I don't think you are, Floof, because I don't see a problem. I'm going to be lurking for a bit. Cool to see this character stuff, though. Is this in Maya? Yeah, it is Maya, and no worries. Enjoy that lurk. I'm actually going to switch this to world space. I've changed my mind. Like the thumb touching the handle on the outside of the fingers. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying is wrong with it. Alright. So another thing too is I can start like making sure that things aren't clipping. You get a little bit of clipping in the default pose sometimes because like you have everything kind of straightened out. But now we're not limited by that. We're able to pose however we like. move the cape around as well in a minute. So yeah, again, like I was saying, I wanted to have the pose very open, so the arms are spread out, legs are spread out. Adding a nice bit of angle. I could probably, or definitely, I could have some more contrapposto, where we kind of like tilt the hips opposing the shoulders. I'm wondering like which way it would be. Probably something like that. Yeah. And maybe I'll twist this a little bit more actually. And the reason for that is because the legs are kind of, what's the word? It looks like the pelvis is kind of broken. That probably wasn't helpful at all. Not the most helpful statement. So another thing to consider is sometimes you'd like to have, you know, this ponytail, the tail, or the cape even dynamic. We're going to be animating these by hand. There are limitations to that, but there's also benefits to that, where it's basically you can really like get the pose and the look you want. But obviously, it's not going to feel quite as fluid as a simulation would. So there's that limitation. But if I was doing simulation, it would be very hard for me to control the clipping or the pose of the cape, right? So it's all stuff that you want to consider when creating your assets, right? So it's you weigh the pros and the cons and say, well, like, do I want it to be, do I want to be limited, or do I want to take the benefits of you know, manually animating, or do I want to take the benefits of physics, right? And you just gotta weigh the pros and cons and say like, okay, this is gonna work better for me in this case. But yeah, you know, don't worry about it too much. But just know like what's involved in both of them. Getting some strange clipping there on the cape. Just twist that a little bit. I think I might need to move this all over a little bit because it's getting crunched as the arm kind of pulls this part of the cape backwards. Oops. And feel free to ask anything as we go as well. I hope this is benefiting you, right? Animation, there's a lot involved in animation, and I know I'm not covering everything, right? There's like the whole principles and whatnot, and deciding like, oh yeah, like why I would pose things in a particular way. I am covering like the best I can. I'm not going to get into like the nitty gritty stuff that everyone says. It's just like, oh, these are the 12 principles of animation, or like, oh, this is when you would do this, or why you would do this, and all that stuff, right? Like I'm literally just talking about my specific thought process when I'm creating poses or animations for my games. Because I'm trying to, what I want to do is I want to give information that only I would give, right? As opposed to stuff that you can kind of find anywhere. So you may need to like, you know, do some other animation research outside of this to really benefit, but you know, I hope you get something out of it. Okay. So we got that going for us. Now the tail is another issue in the ponytail. So I'm thinking about how I want the tail to be posed. And it's going to be a pain in the ass, regardless. Okay. Sorry, I just put on some music for myself. Feel free to play your own music. If you hear music on stream, let me know, because I have to make sure that you can't. Because this is going to go on YouTube, but yeah, after the workshop stuff is done, we'll put music again. No music? Thanks, Gable. How's the model going, by the way, Cable? How's the new armor stuff? So I'm being a little bit sneaky about this, and I'm making the tail kind of wrap around the cape a little. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, actually. Going good? On pause because I'm focusing on finishing the school semester? Oh yeah, that's fair. Angry Teapot, hey, yeah, sure, ask away. Okay. So again, my goal here is to get a nice initial pose, and then we'll animate it a little bit. I want to adjust these fingers a little, I think. Yeah. I don't like that they're all spaced out, so I'm going to pull them together. When your hands are in a fist, they're going to be tighter, not quite so spaced. The pose is a little awkward because I made the hilt super thick. So obviously, like a sword hilt would be a little bit smaller, but because this freaking thing is so big, having a small hilt looks odd. And I'd rather have a wider grip than have a very thinned out sword hilt. Am I allowed to post a link? You are, but I can't open anything on stream right now. I could look at it on my side window though. How do you make this? I would make that with an alpha card, personally. Hey Shillum, where can we find your YouTube channel? I'm not sure if did I do an exclamation mark YouTube? No, but if you go here, this playlist for all the workshop recordings, that's part of the channel, so you can go get to the channel that way. But yeah, Shillum, I would use alpha cards for those frills. Okay, let's get this into a pose as well. Now, there's a number of things I could do here. If I wanted, I could have like this kind of like fake wind that is always blowing in one direction. You'll see that in a lot of fighting games where they'll have like the hair just kind of like flowing in the wind or something like that. They can get away with that a little bit easier because again, it's viewed from the side, so you're only going to ever view from one axis. And if you're mirroring it and the hair is like blowing in the opposite direction, they tend to get away with that too. I mean, in 3D games that happens sometimes as well. I also do it in some of my games. where I have just like this random wind source that just rotates with the character, and that's fine. But it all depends on what you want. Hey Jamie, this looks very cool. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit of a facial expression on there because it's fun. When I'm posing the face, I do like to turn the wireframe on, so that way I can see when anywhere that there's particularly wacky geometry, right? So this could move. I'm not a huge fan of how the geometry kind of pinches here a little, but that's okay. I probably could have spaced out the weights on that area a little bit more, but you know, hindsight is 20/20. I'll just limit the face movement a little bit, just because we didn't make something super robust here. Just enough to kind of get a little bit of expression on there. Still recovering from my second, to be honest. Oh, from your second shot? Well, at least now you have it. So that's literally flat planes. That's what I would do. You can maybe do some layers. But yeah, I would just use flat planes with an alpha cutout and a normal map. You can see that it didn't mirror quite right. That bird isn't moving quite enough. That's okay. I will compensate with this. I also want to move the forehead a little bit in. I mentioned this when I was doing the rigging, that the forehead was kind of sticking out a little bit too far in the middle. So when you do like a frown, now I kind of have to compensate. Which is okay. There we go. Now she's looking confident. Again, I don't quite like that pinch there, but there isn't much I can do about it. If I were to zero this out, let's just see the comparison. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Normal map? Are you doing something that's just pure hand painted, or no? Or are you going to do something that's shaded? If it's just hand painted, then yeah, I guess you just have to draw in the depth, which is also fine. It's going to be a restful blanket lurk from me. Enjoy the workshop, everyone. All right, Jamie, rest up. Enjoy that lurk. I'm going to put a little bit of a grin on the other side, too. It's my first time doing things like these. So I think the first thing you got to figure out, Teapot, is what style are you going for? Like, are you going to go for something that's PBR or something that's hand painted? If you don't know what PBR is, essentially the character that I'm making right now is PBR, where they have metalness, roughness, you know, diffuse, normals, etc. Whereas you could have something that's purely hand painted, or you could have something that's just hand painted with normal maps. PBR, then yeah, you'd use normal maps for sure then. So normal map is where you bake the high details down onto your low poly. So you'd create a high poly version, and the high poly version, those little strands, you'd probably you could either model out or paint with a height map. I just can't get the idea for a high poly version of for a flat plane. You'd bake it down to a flat plane, but you could model out those little strands and then bake it down afterwards. That could be a pain in the butt, though. You could also just use, alphas to create a normal map as well. I'll tell you what, though, if you want, like after I'm done the workshop stuff, I can quickly demo that to you. Just quickly record it and upload it to Discord. Well, I'll do it here live. I'll be faster and easier. You're definitely not. Don't insult yourself like that. What? Okay, cool. All right, another thing I want to do perhaps is add a little bit of a tilt to the upper body to kind of counterbalance the hips. I'm very confused, Cable. Why does a human have a tail? Because she's not a human. She's also got horns. And a dragon hand. Is it a tail or a plate? I have no idea what a plate is. It's a tail, though. Didn't look closely, thanks? No worries, no worries. All humans have dragon tail hand, yeah, that's right. I don't know what you're talking about. A braid. No, there is a braid and a tail. She's got a braid and then the tail is just scaly. We certainly all breathe fire. This is true. We definitely do that. Okay. I think this is pretty decent. All right, so once I get a pose that I'm happy with, we start to give it a little bit of movement. Sorry, just stretching for 1 second. All right. So I'm gonna just save this as a new file because I like to, once I start animating, it's a little bit hard to go back sometimes, so it's good to save that initial pose separately. All right, so we're gonna show our controls again. I'm gonna select all of them, and we're gonna key it. Shift W, Shift E for a quick key. I'm thinking maybe, I'm always torn between 2 seconds and a second for the idle loop. Depends on how fast you want things to move. I'm gonna do 2 seconds. This is a 60 frame per second animation. Or no, it's 30 frames per second. Sorry, it's 4 seconds or 2 seconds. My bad. Yeah. So this is 4 seconds. Okay. So now what I do is I start to get a little bit of a bob in there. I'm gonna do like something kind of like this kind of thing. If I'm doing something that's more like combat-y, I try to like, I have like a little bit of a forward backwards bounce. But if you just want to have like basic breathing, you can just do something like that as well. But that's not what we're doing, so too bad. And then translate Y. I'm just keying in one axis for the bounce. Okay, so this is way too long. I can already see that the speed is just too slow. So we're gonna reduce that. We're gonna do it 60 frames. So that's what I usually like to do, is I like to get the just a base in, some sort of movement so that you can just kind of get an impression on how fast things are going. And if it's not working for you, you just change it. Let me check my frame rate. Okay, it's correct. Once more things are moving, it might feel better, but I might even go faster than this. Okay. So now obviously everything feels very, very stiff, right? Because there's only one thing moving. Just looking at some reference stuff again. How many channel points for you to grow a braid like that? I don't think I'd ever do that. That's a bad idea. Okay, so what a general rule of thumb is I like to have things kind of like move. Any like extremities, limbs, hair, whatever. I want it to kind of move against the main core movement. So basically, because she's moving forward and backwards, I'd have the arm move in the opposition to that. When she's moving forward, or backwards, I guess, in this case, I would have it move forward. Whoa. Alright, that's weird. Hey, Cicada. It's been a bit. How are you doing? Welcome in, my friend. How's life treating you? How's your day going? Sleepy boy? Overworking yourself as always, are we? Good to see you? Yeah. It's always good to see you around, dude. Always. Gotta be careful, my friend. So I'm also thinking, like, as she moves backwards and forward, I might pull her in, or like twist her body a little bit because her body feels a little stiff. I'm also gonna have to adjust the curves after because the curves are gonna be all messed up. Some people prefer to do kind of like a spline animation. I do not like. Sorry, not. They like to do stepped animation, sorry, and then spline it after. I like to just spline it right off the bat because I can see what's going on. Much easier. I get the idea, but it's just not for me. I'm also gonna have to counter animate a little bit because I didn't put a world space toggle on the head. That's alright. Walter, good night. Question. Have you ever used Blender? I have. If yes, what is your opinion on that piece of software? I think it's very cool and it's nice that it's available to everyone. I love its UI, but since Maya is industry standard, I wonder if it's the case of to leave Blender behind and go full-time Maya instead. Sorry for the length. Yeah, so if you're going to work for a company, I do highly recommend focusing on Maya. There are some companies that are using Blender these days, but it's not enough to really be employed. If you're an individual working for indies, then Blender is fantastic. Back when I was freelancing, a lot of indie potential indie clients would always prefer Blender. I would obviously just export it to FBX for them to use, but most of them were using Blender themselves because they're indie and they can't really afford big software. So for that, it's good to know Blender. It really depends on who your target audience is, right? So if you want to work for indies, Blender's probably a good bet. But if you're trying to work for like a big studio, you're going to want to learn Maya because that's just what's expected of you. If you're a modeler, they're not going to care. It really doesn't matter if you're using Blender. If you're a rigger, it's going to matter. It's very, very different how you rig in Maya and Blender. And while I'll say I do really like Blender, I found for rigging it's a bit messy. There is it doesn't allow you to have very specific values, right? It's very kind of loose, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Because I guess it's because I'm used to Maya and everything's very specific, and you can enter like you want it to be like this position, specific rotation, specific rotate orders, and all that stuff. And I couldn't find that stuff in Blender. Maybe it's there, but I just couldn't find it. But for modeling, Blender works just fine. I think the only thing that irks me about Blender is that it has so many layers. So if you use a hotkey, it opens like a hotkey menu to open up with another hotkey. That kind of stuff, where basically you have to do like 2 layers of hotkeys in order to get to what you want and stuff like that. It's because it does so many things, right? I think it does too many things. But that's the only thing about it, right? I'd almost prefer if Blender had separated their software into different tools. So they had like the Blender video editor and the Blender modeling package and the Blender music editor, right? I think it has a music editor or something in there. It does literally everything. It does the whole pipeline, but it does it all in the same software. So if you're trying to open it and do anything that you want, it's just going to take forever to find what you need. That was my main gripe about Blender. But I do love that it's there. It's very nice. Thanks for your awesome opinion. No worries. So another thing I like to do is get a little bit of breathing in the shoulders. And you'll notice like I'm not doing this in a very specific way, right? So some people might be like showing, like focusing on one area and then moving into the next. I go all over the place when I'm working. And it's probably not very good for teaching purposes, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit confusing because I'm jumping around so much. But it is kind of how I work, right? And I can only just try my best. But you can see now I get a little bit of shoulder movement, and that kind of makes it feel like she's breathing a little. You could add some like actual controls and like have the chest area like move in and out if you wanted to have that as well. I've done that in the past for my games if I wanted to have that kind of like subtle breathing. But you know, you just do what you can with what you got. Oops, I did this backwards. Do you like using skin tools for rigging? What do you mean skin tools? Nope, don't like that. And we're going to add some offsets to these animations in a minute as well. One thing at a time though. Skinning plugin for Maya. No, I don't use any plugins. Yeah, I actually don't use any. I don't use any plugins at all. Except for I used some UV stuff way back, but now I use UV layout. I'm not gonna go too crazy with these, or like I'm not gonna polish them a huge amount, I don't think, my animations. I just want to get enough to kind of show you guys the process, and then move on. Because again, like I want to make sure that I get through both of these animations today. And we're already at 10:30, so. Because her tail has bones in it, as in like you can move it around to her, well, I'm just gonna have it like wag a little. And now when I have a tail, or oh, most extremities actually, if I have something that's kind of waving, what I like to do is I like to counter animate the last few controls in the chain. So you can see here that it's moving towards the camera here, right? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make these controls move away, like so. Then you kind of get this kind of drag. And then this is going to move towards the camera, like so. And then you kind of get this overlapping action. It feels a lot more fluid. See that? There's a little bit of a kink because of the curves. I'll have to adjust them, but we'll fix that momentarily. Yeah, you can see like a little bit of a weird wobble there. In fact, you could probably just fix those now. Okay. So the issue being, I want these to be at the peak. Wait. No. I'm getting a double thing here. Okay. So we can see that we have this large arc at the bottom, but the top does not have that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to raise it like this. This should give us a better curve. I think that these could be lower. There. Now this should look a bit better. Much better. Look at that. Look how smooth that looks now. And another thing that I find very, very important is you don't want to animate more than you need, right? So don't key everything. Only key the things that are moving. Otherwise, you're gonna just have this huge mess, and it's gonna be very hard to wrap your head around. And then you can just kind of build it up as you go, right? The arm is probably moving too much. I'll use Maya for rigging. Sounds good. I think I should learn Maya now because I want to get a job. That's fair. Yeah, this arm is moving a lot. I might actually move this arm a little bit more down to the side. I like the idea of the arm being up though, so I'm torn. You know, I'm gonna leave it there for now. We're gonna just see how we feel after we start cleaning these curves up. So what we can do now is if we want to start offset, is this too soon? No, not really. Gotta do it eventually. I'm gonna clean up this, and then we're gonna offset this one first, I think. I'm just gonna make sure that these kind of flow together properly. All right. I'm only paying attention to the upper arm right now and the movement of that. It can be a little bit hard to disconnect from everything else sometimes, but you gotta try. Yeah, definitely too much movement overall. But I think a lot of that has to do with the forearm. Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to take note of is that I am currently trying to make sure that there's two arcs, right, or two peaks. There's the lower one and the higher one. So this is the most rotation and the least rotation point of this joint, right? And I want to make sure that it kind of stays on even amounts on either side of the center line. Otherwise, it'll look like one side is moving a little bit too much. There's a little bit of inequality is nice because otherwise it feels more mechanical, but I do like to kind of space that out a little bit. Just so that it doesn't feel too crazy. Okay. And make sure that that has a nice curve to it. I'm trying to make sure that there's, if I hit F, I can also frame. Sometimes if you select all of them, it doesn't frame very well. I'll just select the two in the middle. I'm just gonna cap this off because what was happening there is because it ended on that sharp angle like this. It would hit like the rotation would go down there, and then it would suddenly start changing direction really quickly. If I do this, I get a little bit more of an ease if I flatten out that curve. Right? Is there like automatic weights? There are, but they're not going to really do much for you. Honestly, you're going to want to do a lot of it yourself. I think that the X movement is too much. Oh yeah, it's starting to feel a little bit better now. I think at least. Okay. Okay. Ooh, this isn't even at all. If you hit R and switch to scale mode, and you click Shift middle mouse, you can kind of scale this down too. That's a nice way to quickly reduce the amount of movement, but keep the curve, right? I think it could be a little bit more still. Bring some of it back. It's a delicate balance. I kind of want this to be more rotated in general. Okay. That's a little bit better. Now, a fun thing to do would be to offset all of these fingers. That'll make it a little bit more interesting, I think. All right. So the first thing that we want to do now is that we have. Oh, well, maybe I should add a little bit of animation to the thumb too. Oh, yeah. Did I add a little bit of offset to this? No. Hmm. Okay. We're gonna have to animate this to match. I'm gonna have a little bit of movement in the sword arm as well. I'm gonna just kind of rotate that a little bit. Whoops. Too much. So it's back, forward, right? Back, yeah. I'm gonna have a little bit more sway to this. It's kind of boring. Okay. We'll do the same fix that we did last time. Where we just move these guys up, like so. Flatten off the top of that. Cool. And now we're gonna do that thing that I said I was gonna do repeatedly for the last like 20 minutes, which is offset these curves. So to do this, what I do is I select all the curves. Right, we do curves pre-infinity cycle, and we're gonna do view infinity. And now because we did pre-infinity, you can see that before the loop, it keeps going forever. We could do this afterwards as well, but we're not gonna be offsetting to the left or only offsetting to the right. But you could do like post key or sorry curves post infinity and instead of the pre infinity like we did. There was one curve that was a little bit janky. Where is it? Is it in the fingers? No. I swear I saw this really, really janky curve. Huh. The hell? Yeah, there. This curve. Oh, the thumb. There we go. Just make sure that these kind of match somewhat. Should be studying. Maya, I see you're a man of culture. Hey, how you doing? Shouldn't you be studying? Okay. So now we can select all these guys, and now that we offset the curves, we can just pop them over one. Oops, not that many. Maybe like one or two. One. Now let's start with one. Because we're going to go through all of these and we're going to pop them back. Okay. I feel like I should do these the opposite way that I did them. If I go into these curves, you kind of want to make it so that this one is down and then this one is up. Yeah, I like that better. Now we're just going to make sure these curves kind of match okay. Okay, and then this guy I feel like is also doing the opposite of what I want. Oh, no. But maybe I'll add a little bit of an offset to it. Okay. Curves pre-infinity cycle. Okay. Which way does this rotate? This way? Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a rotation on this too. Slight. That'll do. I don't like how much that leg is moving either. Feels a little bit strange. I almost feel like it has a double bounce. It's doing what it should be doing, but it just feels weird. Maybe if I add a little bit of a hip rotation on the way back, that would help. Definitely not my best animation, but whatever. Okay. Hey, Easy Perp. Thank you for all of those bits. I do not know why the alarm isn't going off. Oh, I'm not in the right scene. Oops. But thank you for all those bits. That's very kind of you. Bitwall, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the thing isn't going. No worries. How are you doing, friend? Whoa! 5 tier 1 gift subs. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. Easy with the subs, yeah. Your character is so cool, thank you. Man is rolling in dosh? How are you doing today, Easy? I hope things are going well. Easy love bomb, yeah. I'm good, just relaxing. No stream. Fair, fair. Some days that's just how it's gonna be, right? The rotate Y is not acting how I would expect it to. So it's this one? Or yeah, I guess something like that. Don't like it. Okay, so now what I need to do something like this. What's this character for? This is specifically for a workshop that we've been hosting here. So at the beginning of the workshop, everyone voted on some character traits that they wanted. And then based off of those character traits, we designed the character together. And then we did the modeling, rigging, and now animation. And next week we'll be throwing her into Unity. And then we'll be done. We'll be done with the workshop after all these months. Yeah, it still feels a little bit stiff, but that's okay. Whoa! Thank you for the additional sub, Easy Perf. Thank you very much. Why am I not sub to you again? You are now. Okay. Now this is going to be away. And then whoa. Hey. And thanks for the additional bits, Easy Perf. Thank you very much. You've been very kind. I really appreciate that. Okay, hold on. So this is gonna go. Wait. So the outer ones go out. No, everything's curling inwards, and then those are the opposing, and everything's going in. There's the opposing, and then this is opposing again. Like so. Okay. And this is the rotate Y that we're dealing with. Okay. Then we're just gonna move these up. So thanks, dude. The curse of the gifter, you might gift subs, but not sub yourself. Yeah, there's a few. I know a few people like that. There we go. Okay, so there's still some strange movement going on here that I gotta work out. Let's have a look at everything here. So that seems fine. Which would mean lead me to believe that the rest of the cape is what's a little bit funny. And that appears to be the case. Maybe. I'm actually not sure. Let's have a closer look at these. I suppose I could see a little bit of a kink in it. Be adjusted slightly. But it shouldn't look that weird. Oh man. Thank you for all the bits. And Jamie, thank you for continuing your gift sub. Thank you so much. It's true, you did pay for my beer tonight. Okay. So I'm gonna add a little bit of animation's looking solid. Thank you. And add a little bit more of to the rest of the hair here. So I kind of want this hair to move a little bit forward and back as her head moves forward and back. I'm gonna mute that for just a little bit, just because it's recording for YouTube. But thank you so much for the bits. I really appreciate it. Oh man. The bit wall is never ending, it's true. Easy Pup's just feeling real pup. I keep saying Easy Pup instead of Easy Perp. Sorry. Easy Perp is feeling super generous today. Just having some fun? Yeah, I appreciate it. Pup Patrol, that's right. I think everyone likes the idea of floppy ears, so I'm gonna have the ears kind of flop a little bit too. Just a little. Even 1K? Oh my god, was that your goal? It's very hard to tell how many bits you gave. That's crazy. Thank you so much, dude. A couple of days left. Oh yeah, if no one knows Nate, everyone should check out Nate. He's a very talented composer. He also streams. There we go. And everyone should go check out his streams. Now, one thing I could do too is like I could double up this animation and add a blink in there if I wanted. I'm not sure if I do, but there's a number of ways you could add blinks. I think this arm's still moving too much. Am I not following? Don't worry about not following, dude. I do stream, but I haven't in a while due to focus on my career. Yeah, that's fair. But you know what? I know you'll be back. Another thing I could animate too is like this little doohickey. You can get like really into the nitty gritty if you wanted to, right? But the question is, do you want to? That's always the question. Do you want to bother? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think I also want this to kind of be flopped down a little. There. Cool. And I feel like I could maybe have this move around a little. And you just add a whole bunch. Like once you get the core movement, you can just really go in there and really start just adding a bunch of stuff. It's fun. That's probably moving way too much for the speed. Kind of just feels like it's floating. So that's something to look out for too, is when things aren't moving, or like if there's a lot to drive it, then it wouldn't move a ton, right? Alright, and as I go, I can kind of adjust some of the poses a little bit. I think that this rotate should be in more, like this kind of thing. I like this better. I'm still contemplating whether or not I want her to be moving faster. I think things like the hair are moving a little bit too much. She's moving very, very slowly, right? So that's something to consider as well, that when if they're moving really slowly and everything else is moving a lot, it can feel a little bit strange. We'll just tone that down. Cool. I had to follow you. It's my destiny. It sounds great. Have you and stuff worked together on a game before? Yeah. Yes. We did a game jam once, didn't we? No. Or were we just talking about it? Am I thinking you don't want French redeems for the streams? Yeah, not right yet. No, of course we did. I'm sorry, Nate. We did for the we did work on one the witch game. What am I talking about? I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I completely blanked for a second. Here, let me link that to you, Jamie. We worked on this game together. Oh my god. Sometimes you're just too in it and you're just like, wait. I can't remember half the things I've done in my life. I want to add a little bit more of an offset to these fingers. So like when they come up, I kind of want to have them stay out more first. So they can kind of like, yeah, grip. Oh, they're doing like a double thing now. You can't be forgetting about the people you worked with, I know. We were planning on working on more of that game at some point. I do gotta make time for that. Another thing I wanted to do is kind of offset the fingers so that they don't all close at the same time. I thought that might be interesting. You get kind of like this, a little bit of an offset. Maybe I could do more. Okay. I kind of want to have a little bit of her teeth showing, maybe a little. I don't know why all her teeth are keyed. Or her lips, I'm sorry. Her lip controls. Back in lurk? Alright, Jamie, lurk away, my friend. It's looking great, thank you. So what I'm thinking now is I'm gonna go make some tea, and we'll come back and do the walk or run cycle. I think she'll have a run cycle. We'll just do a run jog, I guess I should say. Zoe smug for next emote. Hey Humba, that sounds like a good emote. Sky Acania, hey. I hope you guys don't mind if I go grab tea, seeing as you just came in. Don't worry, Easy Perp, it'll just be 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Acquire much tea. I want it. I want it bad. It's 11:20, and I have not had my tea today. I want it. Alright. I'm gonna leave this on loop. I'll do what everyone asked last time and make this real big. There you go. And we'll just store this in the corner like so. and I'll be right back. All right, I return with beverage. Thank you for your patience. Let's continue on. We're going to work on our run cycle and finish things up. Wait, actually. Okay, so we're going to save this, stop it, and then we're going to do File New, and we're going to reference in our rig again. And we'll save this as run. All right, so for a run cycles are they're easier than walk cycles. Walk cycles have, because they're slower, and walk cycles require more frames, you know? But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pose the leg. So the run is broken up into a number of poses. Oh man, I forget the name of them all. There's the contact, the passing, and one other. At least one other main one. I'm just gonna look up the name of that so because I don't remember. Oh, the high pose. There's a high pose, down pose, passing pose, and then the contacts. Really, the ones that I think about the most though are the contacts and the passing pose. At least that's what I start with at the beginning. I also want our legs to be a little bit closer to the center. So for this specific rig that we've set up together, something seems strange there, but I don't know why the pivot point's way up top like that. I made a mistake. Oh well. Sorry about that. I made a mistake, but it's fine. But I usually use these controls for all rotations, and then this control is only for translations. And the reason is just so that I get cleaner transformations. Oh yeah, we also want to put the sword back in her hand. Where is it? There it is. Okay. And we'll close her hand, fingers, whatever. Make sure that the fingers are close together. Oh, one other thing that I want to cover this stream is exporting for Engine. So once we have all our animations and our model ready to go, I'm going to do the export process today. That way when we get into doing the Unity side of stuff, we can just worry about importing and not have to worry about all those extra things. Oh man, should I give her a Naruto run? Just have like both arms just flailed back, yeah. I'm not gonna do that, but that'd be funny. That'd be hilarious. I'm gonna ball her hands into a fist though. And since we're starting with this leg forward, this arm is going to be back for the first pose. Not too far back, but back. And we also got to add a little bit of a hip tilt. And we're gonna rotate her forward, like so. I want to get her whole body rotated forward. But her head's gonna be rotated up. Again, I should have added controls for the what's it called? Oh yeah, the world space toggle, but that's okay. All right, so now that we got that, I don't like that her leg is that far back. This is gonna be more of a lighter jog, so maybe not quite so far. Okay. I'm gonna give her an expression again. Run cycle? Yeah. How you doing, Cello? Doing good, smoking... Doing what? I have no idea. Oh! Sorry, no, I'm dumb. Never mind. I know what you mean. Hope you're enjoying it. Doesn't give me a headache like edibles? Fair. Hey, Peon. How you doing? I'm wondering if I should make it so that she's not smug, but like actually just running at you to beat your ass. I don't know. I'll leave it like this for now. I'm not gonna worry about the... Actually, I should hide the cape and tail. For the time being, I'm just gonna worry about the actual run cycle. Oh yeah, I should set these to world space too. I forgot to change the settings on this. You can see. Actually, this is a great demonstration. Remember how I said, like, I don't know who remembers this, but when we were doing the the world to local constraints, you can see that she's hitting a little bit of a gimbal here. Just a little bit. One that, yeah, that issue. That was exactly why I was saying that we should change this from interpret type average to shortest. And I'll do that later, but it doesn't really matter because we're not blending between spaces. We're just sticking in one space the whole time. But if we were blending, it would be a problem. Anyway, it's okay. Procrastinating my own work by watching your work. What's new? Ah, classic. That's just how it goes, you know? Working's for suckers. Working is for suckers. Suckers, intense face. Cool rig. Glad you like her. Okay, so now we're gonna do the oppose. So one other thing I wanted to mention is, remember I said for the idle, don't key everything, right? Now, I am keying everything for specific poses. So basically, my two main key contact poses, those ones I key everything, at least for the run cycle. And then in between anything that's extra, I just key as I need. And I only key the attributes that I need. This way I know that my key poses are in the pose that I want them to be. Anyway, just want to make sure that was clear. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to rotate the upper body as well. I just rotate it 8. Okay, and then just counter. Again, if I had a world space control, I wouldn't have to do this counter animating, but I don't, so I do. Just how it goes sometimes, you know? Whole channel numbers. Yes, yes. Okay. And then we're also going to have to offset this to be the opposite. I'm just going to change this to positive. You know, another thing I want to do too, actually, is I want to rotate it in the y-axis. So, there. There we go. And yes, this looks very weird. Don't worry about it. One step at a time. It'll be fine. Don't worry. I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. All the time. Every day. Always. Yeah. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get the high or the passing pose as well. So we got our main poses, and now we're going to do the other ones. Okay. So translate y, e. Oh, sure. And then our okay. So we want to make sure that the foot stays planted. So the foot that's going backwards needs to be planted all the way through this animation. So we're going to key that. Make this 0. Like so. And I think that our foot's going to be planted. Whoa. What's going on here? Oh, hold on. You can see a little bit of a dip there. Make sure that this is flat. Same on the other side. Once we zero out the translate y, make sure that's flat. Cool. Whoa, pause. Thank you for your sub. How are you doing? 6 months. It's a long time. Thank you very, very much. Hope your day's treating you well. Man, everyone's been super kind today. I don't know what the deal is. Doing good. Just got home a bit ago and I'm relaxing. That sounds nice. So we got some very clear popping going on here. Right there. Why is it popping there? Oh, whoops. These are not the same. There. Okay, that's a bit better. Again, it looks funny. Don't worry. We will fix it. It'll be fine. Okay? One step at a time. Now we have our I'm gonna actually delete these frames for this. And then here it's gonna be down. And then up for our passing pose. Or we're gonna add like our up and high. And then here we're gonna do the same. I can see now that I did not put the center point in the right place. I'm gonna have to move that. I think this animation might be too fast too. But we can see that it has two extra frames on the other side. There's oh, okay. Something like this. Yeah, so there's one extra frame here. Means that what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this 18 frames total. Take everything and then move it over one. Because the actual end frame is 17 because it loops, right? Okay. I'm just going to move this over one and move this over one. Right? It's still wrong. One. So it has a gap between each. Oh, I am still wrong. Clearly. Clearly I know what I'm doing. But this is going to be a 16 frame cycle because... Okay. This is way too fast for what I'm going for. So this at this point is a good time to start working on your timing, right? It's very important to figure out your timing early because otherwise it becomes harder and harder the more you animate. Just something to keep in mind. Okay. Now what I got is I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because I can't divide this in two very easily, so there's only 2 frames between this one and then 2 frames between all the other poses. Might be okay, but we'll figure it out. I can see here that this one is a little bit longer than the other side. I'm actually going to make this 25 frames, and then I can pull this out one more. Let's try this now. Okay, now it feels a little bit slow. But that's okay. There's still some more poses we have to do, so it might end up feeling faster in a second. Okay. And I do want it to be like more of a jog than a run too, so a little bit slower is going to be okay. I can see that there isn't any bounce on the second part. Yeah, okay, so that's why it's feeling a little bit weird. Okay. That's wild. Usually when I do runs, I don't really let Maya do my in-betweens because it's such a fast motion. I mean, you can work however you like. If I'm honest, your method is probably going to give you better animations. But the thing is, like, I start with fewer frames and then I slowly work in the rest of them, right? But I do let Maya do a lot of my in-betweening because I just try to get as much out as fast as I can, right? Well, I like to offset those a little bit more too. There's still a lot to be done though. But I do, yeah, again, like I do let Maya do a good amount just because of time. That's the only reason. But I find this is a nice, easy way to get a decent cycle out. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is on the high pose, here I kind of want to have the leg extend a little bit out more. Like so. And have this kind of like that. And then here on the passing, I kind of want to have the foot angled down. The passing pose is actually here. Yeah. Just want to have this kind of curl down and then kick up and then get planted there. You'll notice that the front leg is moving a lot compared to the back leg, which is frankly problematic. But should be okay. We'll figure it out. I probably don't want to have the leg extend out that much. Probably something like this. I just want to make sure that the leg gets a little bit straighter for a little while and then kind of flattens out. Or then bends. I don't want to like hit a... Oh man, now she's got kind of like this goofy foot. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Not great. Okay. I feel like I want to have more twist in the spine. There isn't enough. Okay. Hold on, did I make a mistake? Yep. There we go. I was gonna say, hold on a second. Why is the head flipping up like that? That's not right. Oh, I'm sorry if did I not? I might not have responded. Pause. But I just hear that you're back home and chilling. Whoa, the eye, hold on. This has to move. There we go. Okay. Another thing I like to do is I like to rotate the arm in and out as it goes forward, so that it gets a little bit of a drag. There. That might be too much. That's probably too much because now it looks a little bit weird. There, that's better. Jog animation? Yeah. That's right, that's what we're doing. We're doing it. We be jogging. I did create the entire character, yeah. If you want to see the whole process, it's up here. Essentially how it worked is everyone who was participating at the workshop at the time voted on character traits. And then based on the character traits that were voted, we did a character design on stream. And then from there we went on to like sculpting, low poly, UVs, texturing, etc., rigging, animation. So we did the whole process together. You see a bit of a leg pop happening here. Whoops. That's not good. Why is it? Okay, so what I need to do is actually have to have the toe kind of go like this. And then at this position, I need the foot to be planted completely. So you'll remember that at the beginning, what we ended up doing was we did a foot plant in the center here, where we had the everything kind of zeroed out here. But because this is a jog and I forgot, and it's not a walk cycle, the toe has to start bending up a little bit sooner to allow for the kickoff. I don't like that the foot kind of stays perfectly still either. So I'm actually going to move the foot in this pose to be up. Okay. So now what we got to do, we got a pop here. So the leg does have to move up more. Okay. And here we do need to have the foot start bending like we did on the other side. And here is where we're going to have a full plant. I'm actually going to probably plant the foot completely the frame before as well. Because as soon as the foot contacts, the foot's got to kind of flop down. So I think I'm going to actually have to do this here as well. Similarly, on this side, we're going to do the same. Bless your skills. Oh, I'm hoping that it helps at least a little bit. Like, because I'm doing a whole bunch of things. Obviously, like, modeling is my main thing, so all the other stuff is kind of I know you can get this information from someone else better, right? But I'm hoping that I can give someone or multiple people some sort of foundation that they can work from. That's kind of my goal here. It's more targeted to people who want to make their own game than anything else. Than someone who's looking to you know, work as a modeler or an animator or a rigger, right? This is something that you can kind of like get some stuff done. So another thing that I want to do as well is on this pose, I kind of want to move the body forward a little bit. And this is just going to make the character just feel like they're kind of like pushing off the ground a little bit more. It makes them feel a little less stiff. I can't remember where I learned that, but I remember hearing that a long time ago. It still feels a little bit floaty, but I want to give her a little bit more bounce, I think. So I'm going to pull this down a little. And you'll notice that I have more keys on the higher position than the lower. And this is to make it kind of feel like a little bit of like a bounce, so that on the upper, so basically the bob is a little bit faster, and then she kind of like lofts between her strides. Which again will make her feel a little bit floatier, but at the same time kind of gives like a little bit of a poppy feel to the bounce. It's important to offset that. I don't want to have it the same amount down and the same amount up, because then it just feels very linear, right? Now what I want to do is on the arm, like we did when we were animating the idol, is I want to offset the frames. I could actually, you know what, another thing I could do is there's one more thing I can do before that. So I want to actually have it so that the arm comes in the Z here when it's in the front and back, right? So I'm going to add a key on the rotation Z in the middle here. And that way, when we're here, we can actually bring the arm in more. Similarly, I want to have a little bit of a bounce in the Z here as well. So what I might do is add a little bit of an up and down here. Because you're never going to be able to hold that sword perfectly still, right? There's going to be a bit of a bounce. Especially, like, if I wanted to, I could have made this sword look heavy, but I want it to look like she has no trouble wielding it. But it's a huge freaking thing, right? Another thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of a bend to the spine. So when she comes up, I want her to kind of lean in a bit. Oops. There. Okay, it's feeling a little bit janky, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe if I move this to the middle frame. I think it's because there's just too much of a pop, right? That's better. Oh, I remembered another thing that I want to do that'll help make this less stiff as well. Is have it so that she kind of moves left and right as she's running. Okay. Hey, Nopefish. Who is she? This is a character that we designed for a workshop that I've been hosting on the stream here for the last 3 months. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. That's going to be a nice touch. It's so hard to get that effect for me in 2D. Oh yeah. Okay, so there's some weird stuff going on here. I think it's because there's extra keys in there. Yeah. Okay. That's cool, thanks. If you're interested in the workshop, you can go here. And dangerous. Big sword, yes. Any attack animation? That's gonna be that's outside the scope of the workshop. We're just gonna do an idle and a run. Maybe in the future I could do more videos on animation, but I'll do that when I'm more confident in animation. In a way that I could actually, you know, teach you something good. Right now I'm just trying to get you guys started. Dangerous by all means, yes. This is a really good job, thank you. Did not forget about the alpha cards. Nope, I'm gonna do that after the workshop stuff is done, Angry Teapot. Thank you for the reminder though, because I probably would have forgotten by the time I finished this. And you just keep making it better, the little things that matter. Thank you. I want to have a little bit more of a shoulder movement. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of a shoulder as she moves her arm forward and back. Okay. I think that's going to help, but I think it needs more. This kind of thing would be very, very difficult without the world space control on the shoulder, or on the arm. Sorry, because I would have had to counter animate this a ton, which would have sucked. There we go. I just want her to feel tough, right? So I want her shoulders to be kind of like up and curled, and right. I kind of want this arm to be a little bit more curled when it's back. Okay. There we go. I'm in dangerous in a sense. I'm talking in English too impulsively and in wrong ways sometimes. No worries. I'm not sure it was the right sentence. Damn Google Translate. No worries, no worries. It can be tough. I hope that I'm easy enough to understand for you. Watching this makes me want to stop dragging my feet and on my character design. Hey man, just jump in. Jump in. I want to get the tail in there now. Tails are fun. And all these little things are going to make the animation feel a lot better and hide all the bad stuff. Don't tell anyone though. I'm definitely not hiding the bad stuff. Nope. Not me. Why would I ever do that? I would never. Oops. And yes, I'm aware that it looks stiff right now. I am aware. Don't worry. It's fine. Like Cage would say, just fucking send it, bud. That's right. Will the tail swing that much when jogging? Maybe not. It's probably too much. I just wanted to see about it. I usually like to push more movement than less at the beginning, and then if I need to pull it back, I will. But I don't like little tiny subtle movements. I know like that's more of a realistic thing to do, but I really like pushing the movements because it's just more fun. You know? Why can't things be more fun? Okay. And then this moves up, but I want these to kind of move down instead in the Z. Alright. And then I want, in this part, I want this to be up in the Z. There. Oh, that's kind of nice, right? Let's get that cape in there. The cape's gonna be tough. Hey, Talden! How are you doing, my friend? Welcome in. I hope your day is going swimmingly. Doing well, sorry I'm late. Don't worry about it. Baby stuffs? Yeah, man. You got a hectic life, my friend. As for me, I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. We're getting through this. You're telling me, yeah. Preaching to the choir, am I? I don't feel like the cape needs to necessarily be this high up. I'm gonna lower it a little. Okay. Alright, so when she's this way, I'm gonna have the cape be a little bit swayed this way. Oh, hold on. I want to make sure I use all the controls. I forget where the middle is. I think it's there. Okay. Don't worry, I'm aware it looks stiff. We'll fix it. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. And it's looking sweet. Thank you, my friend. Peon my peon? Hey, hey. Stop. Why are you using the stop emote? Alright. Then what we do is we take these last couple controls and we oppose the motion. I think I actually want to take these other ones too and add that up top. It's not happening soon enough. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Then we want to add a little bit of a curl to these guys. Just a little bit. So when it's up, these are down. And here it's going to be up. Hey, Captain Cypher. Staying calm? Alright. Good. Good. Stay calm. It's fine. No need to worry. Everything is under control. Everything. Never any problems here. Nope. And if anyone says otherwise, they're wrong. CS reverse S reverse C? What? Avatar slash character looks awesome. Thank you. She's going. She be running. Jogging. Where'd it go? I like that the tail and the cape oppose each other. Helps a lot. I don't think the braid is going to follow the cape though, because the cape and the braid are following the upper body, which is countering the pelvis. So we're going to put the ponytail back on, and we are going to tilt this up. So, not too much, just enough. I want it to be just enough to oppose the cape. Or to not clip the cape, sorry. The shape for the tail, cape's hair, etc. Oh, yeah, makes sense. Nice angular momentum conversion? Conversation? Sorry. Yeah. Totally. Totally that. Yep. Conversation. Conservation. Yeah. Oh, I see. I read it wrong twice. I'm sorry. I'm illiterate. Those words just kind of mix together. Couldn't say why, but there you go. Just how it is sometimes. Okay. And I also want to have all these guys go up in Z here. Maybe it's a bit stiff still, but whatever. And we're gonna add some more little nuances to the hair. Right? I don't want to have any rotation in the X. We'll get rid of that. Why is it doing this? Oh, I know why. Whatever. And then rotate Y. And rotate X should be completely static, but I don't. There, okay. Great. There. And we got a little bit of a bobble there. And we're going to add some sway onto all these other little strands. This is the fun part. Just like adding like little flourishes, yeah? I love this stuff. This makes me happy, just like nitpicking. It's the equivalent of like of over rendering drawing. You know? When you're just kind of in it for too long. At least it can be. But it's the idea of adding that little extra stuff. It always feels nice to just be on the polish phase, you know? Well, I wouldn't even call this the polish phase, but it's the phase where you just kind of like add those little details that no one really notices or picks out. There we go. Now the only other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that when this is moving inward, it kind of flips out the tip there. And then here it's got to flip in on the tip there. We're going to do the opposite on the other side. Oops, I did the same. I made a mistake. Outward. There. And here it's the inward one. Cool. I could probably add a little bit more in the Y rotation on these. Just a little bit more movement because they don't seem to be moving all that much. Cool. I think the strands above it could also move a little bit more in the Y. Oops. There we go. Now, one other thing that I want to do is I want to add, remember how I added the offset in the middle for this forearm? I want to do the same thing for the upper arm. So that she kind of holds her arm in the upward position a little bit longer. It'll just make the movement between positions a little bit snappier. That's better. Let me look at the curves though. Okay. This is the rotation Y. Wait a minute. I said it's better, but nothing changed. I keyed the wrong thing. Okay, that's why I felt a little bit weird. There. Okay. Okay. Don't forget to save. I just crashed Maya and lost 15 minutes of work. Good call. Saving now. Save. Ledgermancer, hey. 2 Pro? 5 me? I don't know about that. Okay. The only other thing that's bothering me is that the cape is still where her arm used to be. So what I want to do here is I want to move the arm in, or the shoulder in. That. There we go. And we got a jog. And that looks pretty decent, eh? Only thing is maybe maybe these could go a little bit further back. That's better, I think. The only thing is, like, it doesn't have a ton of character in it, but I think it's okay. Oop, it's clipping the arm. Make sure we fix that. Cool. All right. So that is that, guys. The next thing that I'm going to show you guys is the export process. How I go about exporting my assets for Unity. And then next week, I was thinking of going into Unity. However, I think I'm going to need a little bit of more time for prep. So next week, I think we'll do our putting things on your portfolio session. I was thinking of doing it today, but I think I'll do it next weekend. And then the weekend after, we'll touch up the Unity stuff. I think that'll do good. And then we'll be done. So there'll be 2 more streams, and then this is over. Then we're done with the workshop. All right. Oop. One other thing I'm noticing is the foot is broken on this frame. And that's because we got to rotate this down here. I think I did this on the other side, but I forgot to do it on this side. Over forever? Yeah, we'll be done. No more waifu creation workshop? No. But we'll have learned everything, and it'll be recorded, and it's up on YouTube for you guys to watch whenever. So there's no worries. And I'll be creating other characters on stream, but I won't be like going in nitpicking like this and explaining everything in so much detail, right? Okay, so we're gonna export everything and get everything all prepped up. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna open scene. I'm gonna open this one. Yeah. Just saving a backup. Okay, so what I usually do, or what I always do, is when I am rigging a character, or when I'm creating a character, I keep them in a bunch of parts, right? So we have, you know, the cape, the body, eye patch, hair, etc., etc., etc. These are all separate. But you don't want to have 100 pieces in your game engine. That's just not fun. And you don't want it in Marmoset either. That's also not fun. So what you end up having to do is combining a lot of these. So how I go about this is I duplicate our mesh here, and I'll unparent it, and I'll hide the rig for the time being. And I will start combining the pieces that share a material. It's easier to assign different materials to an object, and it's easier to you can have an object with multiple materials in it, but you can't really project predict what the material ID number will be in the engine. So if you're trying to assign a material to an object through code, it's very difficult to do because you can't predict which material ID is going to be 0, 1, 2, etc. So it's easier if you just keep the separate meshes for the different materials. So she has a material for her hair, her eye, the eyeshadow, and her body. And those are the pieces that we're going to have, right? Oh, and her sword as well. But the sword will be exported as a prop and then parented later. So the first thing we're going to do, make sure there's no hidden geometry. We're going to isolate select that, and we're going to combine it. So we're going to combine that. So that's her hair. The eye and the ambient occlusion are fine. I'm going to unlock. Now, the other thing to note is when I rigged the character, I kept the transforms, right? But we don't want that on our export mesh either. So everything here should be frozen and origins should be at the 0 position. I keep the transforms because it's easier for rigging on the parts, but the final thing that goes into the engine should be zeroed out with the origin at 0. Okay? I hope everyone's following along so far. Combine history. Great. So now I'm just going to take everything here. Right, we're going to hit W. And we're going to hit DX and then make sure that everything is snapped to the center. I'll usually snap off and then snap back on because sometimes like 1 or 2 of the meshes are at the origin, but the others are not. So I make sure that I just snap on and off, or off and on, and then we're good. And we're just going to freeze transforms on everything. All right. Okay, and then we're just going to name our meshes. So this is going to be mesh Zoe hair, and then this is going to be, just going to copy the prefix. This is her eye, and then her ambient occlusion. So IAO, and then body. And we can delete this. And we'll just take the sword as well. Make sure that this is zeroed out. Combine history. All right. Excellent. And then I make a group called combine and I put it in there. That way I have the original as well if I need to like go back and make some skinning updates, or if I want to compare and make sure that the weight's transferred properly, all that fun stuff, right? So now what I'm going to do that I have this combined mesh is we're going to show the whole rig, right? This is the prop, doesn't need to be, nothing needs to be done. It can just be hidden. I'm going to export that prop separately and then parent it to the joint that we use for animation in Unity. Okay, so the next thing that we got to do is show our skeleton. Hold on. Why is my skeleton not showing? Did I hide it by accident? No. Oh, I'm in isolated select. I am dumb. Okay. Then we're going to hit select hierarchy, which I have on hotkey of Alt-N. But it can also be here, select hierarchy. And then we're going to just merge or bind all our meshes, right? Skin, bind skin. Boom. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the parts here. And we're going to copy the weights over. So we're going to select this. Oh, one thing to note, skin, bind skin. When binding your skin, make sure, where is it? Don't have this checked on. don't have this checked on. This is very important because sometimes if a weight isn't used in the target mesh, well, not sometimes. Sometimes it won't get added to the target mesh because there's too many influences going on. I had this issue when I was rigging wings because there's a lot of joints going on in the wings. And you can only have 4 influences per vertex. So some things didn't get weighted automatically. But in my part, the one that was in parts, I added those in and made sure that they were connected and I weighted the joints, right? Because again, with auto projection, it's just going to take the closest vertices to the closest joints. And if joints are close together, then it causes problems. So if this is checked on and then some joints get removed from the target, when you try to copy the weights over, they won't copy because the joints aren't included in the skin weights, right? So just make sure that that is not checked on. Anyway, so I'm going to select all the parts, then the hair, and then we're going to go skin, copy skin weights. And I like to copy by joint name because they're attached to the same skeleton. And we'll apply. Boom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same for the eye. Apply. Eye ambient occlusion. Apply. And then we're going to select everything else, which is all this stuff. Isolate it. So. I hope that the cape parts. Okay. Yeah, okay. Then we're going to select all this. And then we're going to combine it. Then we're going to paste it here. And that'll take a while because it's more mesh. Another thing to keep in mind too is another good reason to keep these parts is for animation. I just want to bring that up because if you remember, I was able to hide and show parts, right? So like I could just hide the tail, for instance, right? Now, if I use this combined mesh, because all the body is combined, I can't just hide the tail because it's combined to the body. So instead, what you got to do is for animation, you keep the parts visible, and then when you export, you use this combined mesh. So now that we have this, we're going to just test the rig and make sure that everything copied properly, and save. I'm going to save. Right. There we go. So that seems to be going all right. I'm not too picky about this. If, like, worst case, I can always come back and fix this later. If something didn't copy quite right. It's not the end of the world. Also, while I'm in here, I want to fix that IK that I fixed in the other file. I just want to make sure that it's fixed here as well. I need to watch your YouTube videos so I can start building my waifu collection. But I only have Blender. Like, all this stuff is doable in Blender as well. It's just different. But that's also like, I hope it wasn't too focused that way, but I was trying to focus more on the thought processes than actually using the software. Right? Like, I didn't talk about like, oh, this is how this works in Maya. I was more talking about things like, oh, if I have a control, I'm moving it here, right? Or I'm building it in this way because of this, etc., right? So I was trying to talk more in that sense. You know, maybe I didn't do it enough, but hopefully you'll be able to, like, you know, use some of that knowledge in other software as well. Okay. So she looks like she's working well. So now that I have everything in a pretty good place, what I do is I select all of this stuff, and then I go skin, edit influences, remove unused influences now. So now that I've copied the weights over, I want to remove unused influences. And the reason for that is because, remember, I selected the whole skeleton and then bound all these things together, right? But the eye only needs the eye joint to influence it. And I don't need all like the little bottom joint nubs and stuff like that. So I make sure that I remove all the excess. Okay. So now that we have that all set up, I'm going to save this again, and this is going to be file 320. Again, I like to have backups, and this is kind of my public use file. And now that I have this, I'm going to save it as again, and this is going to be her skeleton file, her skell mesh. And we're going to remove everything that is not related to the skeleton. So we're going to remove, we're going to take out the mesh, sorry, the mesh and skeleton, my bad. And global move skeleton, we're going to unparent that. And then we're going to delete all of this stuff. Oops, okay, so we see that because of the constraints and stuff, weird things happen, right? So the constraints got wacky. So what we have to end up doing instead is we're going to have to select the hierarchy of the skeleton. You'll note that a lot of the times you'll end up with like a parent constraint at the end of the selection. So just select a joint and then select it again. So that way you know that you're on a joint. And then just select all the attributes here. So what I did there is I did like shift click on the joint and then shift click again to select and deselect, sorry, deselect and then select it, because then it becomes the end of the chain and I can see these attributes. And then I just break connections. All right. So now it is not connected to the rig in any way, and now I can delete. All right. The default position of this joint here is supposed to be 0. Oops, wrong one. Hold on, it's easier to get it here. Okay. And we're just going to 0 that out. That's supposed to be at the 0 position. And that's going to make it easy for us to parent the prop for the sword, right? So basically, because this is in the hierarchy at the root, we can just drop our sword mesh. Oops, I deleted the sword mesh. That's okay. The sword mesh, you can just export separately. That's fine. Okay. So we got all this stuff. Ideally, you'd go in and you'd remove all those extra constraints that are in there. But that's a big pain in the arse. And I don't think they'll carry over in the export anyway. I don't think the exporter actually takes constraints with it. So we should be okay. All right. That's our skeleton. And we got our mesh. And we're good. Okay. So now what we do is we save this. Following up on this thought. So essentially this joint in animation gets constrained to the hand. So when she animates, this will follow along with the hand, but by default it's at 0. And because it's not underneath the hand, you don't have to go through the whole skeleton, find it, and then put the sword in, right? Yeah, anyway, that's why you do it that way. I made that mistake in my game, so if you actually look at Infinite Sky, then she has, my character in that game has the sword underneath the hand, and it's a huge pain in the butt. Also, I made a mistake here, I think. Hold on. Did I? No, we're good. I thought I made a mistake, but I didn't. I don't make mistakes. That's fine. I don't make mistakes. Never. Never would I ever make a mistake. All right, we're going to save that. And we're going to use the game exporter. I don't like using the regular FBX export. It has some scale issues, and it causes a lot of problems when you're bringing it into Unity. The game exporter does things a lot cleaner and better, so I highly recommend using that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all the settings here. So export selection. And then in here, we're going to make sure don't embed media. It's going to bloat your file. Don't want to bloat the file. Because what embed media is going to do is it's going to include all your textures that are linked in Maya in your FBX. I don't like that. It just makes the file bigger and makes your project bigger, so don't. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the export folder. So I've pre-created this folder structure, but I just created a folder called export, and I'll put it in there. Okay. And then this is going to be CHR, Zoe, and that's it. And then we're just going to select our mesh and our skeleton and export. Boom. Okay. Excellent. So now we're going to save that. Similarly, let's export that prop. So we're going to go back into our other file because I accidentally deleted the prop. So we'll just jump in there and get the sword from there. Not a big deal. Give me the sword. I should have probably just verified that all my material names are correct, but yeah, that seems right. I'll unhide that. Okay, so there's the sword. And similarly, we're going to do export selection. Do not embed media. Choose our folder of export. And this is going to be PRP sword. Export. Boom. Been on lurk throughout the day, but excited to see this get exported. Hey, Joe. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed your lurk. Okay, so the last thing is I'm going to show you how to export an animation, and then we'll be done for today. So we're going to open scene, anim Zoe run, don't save. Now, I'm going to save a bake file. The reason for this is so that I don't accidentally save over this, because I've done that in the past and it sucks. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to put _bake. That way when I bake this and I don't accidentally do like Control S and then destroy everything, right? So what we have to do first is we got to import our reference. File, import reference. Or sorry, right click, reference. I'm an idiot, sorry guys. File, where is it? Oh, okay, sorry, I had to select it first. Import objects from reference. There we go. So now we'll see that it's no longer reference. It doesn't have that blue diamond anymore, but it does have a prefix. We don't want that because the skeleton name won't match because now it has a prefix in front of it. So if we try to transfer the animations over, it wouldn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do window general editor namespace editor. We're going to select this, delete. Shouldn't hit that twice, sorry. Merge with parent. And we're good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select our skeleton hierarchy. So we're going to take our skeleton out of the group. Select hierarchy like before. And then we're going to do animation. Oh, I didn't need to be an animation. It doesn't matter. Anyway, edit keys, bake simulation, option box. Make sure you have these options. And it's going to bake based off of the length of your timeline. Now this is very important. Remember, the first frame and the last frame are the same because we did a loop. Now if you're looping an animation, you would obviously only need these frames, but export and bake all of them because Unity won't blend between 24 and 1. It's going to blend between 24 and 25. So you're going to get this little hiccup in your animation if you don't have the same frame at the beginning and the end. Make sure you do. So that's important. And make sure that the timeline is visible because this is baking based off of your timeline. See, so it's based off of the timeline slider. And we'll hit bake. Okay? So that's baked now. And we can take our mesh out. Oh. I had the wrong file reference. It doesn't have the combined mesh in it. Doesn't matter though, because we don't need the mesh, fortunately. But I'll just take this out. It's okay. But normally I would use the combined mesh. When I delete everything, things will get a little bit wacky, but don't worry. Move the timeline and it'll be all good. All right? So now that that's all set, we can just make sure that the animation looks good. And then we just delete our mesh because we don't need that. All we need is the skeleton for exporting the animation. We're going to save that. And then we're going to go into animation clips this time. We're going to create an animation clip. So this is going to be anim Zoe run. Seiko looks good. Thank you. I'll show you all the animations in a sec, Joe, if you want. Again, no embed media. And then we're going to select our folder, choose. And I usually like to name the exported file the same. I like to export everything as a single clip because I animate one animation per file, but you might not. So if you don't, maybe you want to do it differently. But that's up to you. But I like to animate anything that's associated to each other. Sometimes I'll have multiple, like say I have a jump, and I'll have like the jump start, idle in air, idle fall, and then land, and they would be all clips, but they'd all be within the jump export file. And then I just keep that together. It's a nice little pack, right? But we didn't do a jump, so don't worry about that. So export selection again. Select our skeleton, and we'll hit export. And that's it. We are done. That is everything. So that's everything for today. I'm going to stop the recording. Next week we're going to be talking about putting up your model on your portfolio. So we'll talk about ArtStation and Sketchfab, and rendering in Marmoset. But before that, I'm going to have all of my images prepped and ready to go and ready for upload. So that way we can just quickly go through it and I can just show you the process. Otherwise, if we did it today, I'd have to go and like make all the renders, make all the compilations, and that's just going to be a waste of your time. So I'm not going to do that. But we're going to do that, and then the week after, we're going to be doing Unity, where we're going to have a little bit of a control input and import all our animations, so that you can like use the keyboard to move your character around. And maybe we'll do a camera with the mouse. I'll see, maybe. But that'll be it. And that'll give me 2 weeks to set that up, and then we'll be done. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this stream on animation, and I hope you'll like the next one too.